All right, midweek update time, and we're making some meaningful pivots off yesterday's Dak-led build based on updated projections, ownership, and matchup context. Quarterback. We're moving back to Jaden Daniels at 6,900. The big Y is the matchup and projection combo. He carries a dash rank of 100, faces Dallas, who have the absolute worst defense overall, by opponent rank 32, and he's projected for 23 with strong field confidence at about 36% ownership. He's averaging 20 fantasy points per game, with 16 and 17 in the last two after an early dud. So the projection is becoming more reliable. Multiple pieces have him as a name to watch in Week 7, and there's even a national preview framed as Jaden Daniels versus Dak Prescott this week. He also stayed in the headlines after a questionable roughing the passer call on Monday, which reinforces the aggressive play style we're buying in this spot. We preferred Dak yesterday for leverage, but this is the chalk we're willing to ride now given the absolute worst defense overall on the other side. We're keeping our value quarterback the same, with Dylan Gabriel at 4,400. He draws Miami, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent, ranked 29. He's projected 15, and ownership is still modest around 4%. He's posted 16 and 9 in his last two, but projections are still fragile with a short runway as a starter. The news cycle confirms the volatility. He was promoted to starter in Week 4, has yet to register a win, and there's local chatter about Shedeur Sanders, while there's also a note about him and Tua Tagovailoa making some quirky Week 7 history. He remains a salary relief play that lets us jam ceiling elsewhere. Running back, we're pivoting to Jerome Ford at 4,400 as a salary saver. Miami again rate as one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank 29. Ownership is only about 1%. And while the projection is a modest 6, this is a price-driven GPP lever. The touch count is volatile, because he's historically been the trusted backup in Cleveland behind Nick Chubb, as outlined in an Essentially Sports piece, but he's still posted 8 and 6 in his last two, and can pay off at this price if Cleveland sustains drives in a soft overall matchup. We're prioritizing savings at RB to fund our ceiling at QB and WR. Wide receiver, we're rotating back onto George Pickens at 7,300. He has a dash rank of 100. He's averaging 21 fantasy points per game, and he just put up 35 and 36 in two of his last three, with only one dip mixed in. He draws Washington, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank 23. He's projected 16, and ownership sits under 5%. He was highlighted among the top 10 performers of Week 6 by Essentially Sports, and the recent form plus low ownership makes him our preferred tournament ceiling play over yesterday's Debo bringback. Tight end, we're moving back to Jake Ferguson at 5,500. Washington, again, have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank 23. Ferguson sports a dash rank of 100, and he's been steady with 12, 24, and 17 in his last three. Projection is 13 with ownership around 4%. Multiple pieces call him Dallas's go-to tight end, and that role stability is what we want in this game environment. We preferred Tucker Kraft yesterday for price balance, but Ferguson's usage, projection, and matchup push him ahead today. At flex, we like Rashid Shaheed at 4,500. Chicago have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank 28. Shaheed averages 12 fantasy points per game, with 24 and 9 in two of his last three, and he's projected 12 with about 7.5% ownership. The Saints speedster has been singled out among the NFL's speed demons this year and just showcased that burst in Week 5, so we're embracing his downfield volatility at a friendly price in a soft overall matchup. We're moving off Kamara from yesterday to capture cheaper ceiling and reallocate cap to WR upside. Defense, we're pivoting back to the Chiefs at 3,700. Las Vegas have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank 30. The projection is 8, and ownership is around 5%. We flipped off the Broncos here because the Chiefs project slightly better, and we expect more short fields and mistake opportunities in this divisional spot. It's a modest ownership, median-friendly DST and a slate with plenty of salary pressure. Quick value check-ins. Chris Moore at 3,000 is a viable punt stack piece with Jaden Daniels. Dallas have the absolute worst defense overall by opponent, rank 32. Moore is basically unowned at 0.03%, and he just posted 14 last game. If you need a salary unlock in Washington stacks, he fits the build. Jatavion Sanders at 3,200 is a thin but usable large field dart against the Jets, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent, rank 27. He's around sub 1% ownership with a 6-point projection, but his recent fantasy point history shows zeros, so understand the floor here is real. Tommy Tremble at 2,900 remains a live punt. The Jets are one of the worst defenses overall by opponent, rank 27. Tremble's recent 15-8 highlight the spike week profile, and ownership is about 0.5%. He's a tournament salary saver if you need to get unique. Titans defense at 2,400 is a straight salary release. New England have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall by opponent, rank 19. Ownership is under 4%. And you're paying down to prioritize studs elsewhere. To summarize the changes versus yesterday's video, we're off Dak and back to Jaden Daniels because Dallas have the absolute worst defense overall, and Jaden carries a stronger projection and National Week 7 buzz per multiple previews. We're dropping Javonte for Jerome Ford to streamline salary in a favorable overall matchup against one of the worst defenses overall by opponent, rank 29. We're off Debo and onto George Pickens for lower ownership and recent elite form in a soft overall defense spot. We're reverting from Tucker Kraft to Jake Ferguson due to role security and projection in a game where Washington's defense rates poorly overall. We're flipping Kamara to Rashid Shaheed to capture cheaper downfield ceiling against one of the worst defenses overall. And we're shifting defense back to the Chiefs for a cleaner projection at modest ownership. Drop your questions below. Tell us if you're rolling Jaden with a Chris Moore punt to jam Pickens, and we'll be back with final tweaks after inactives.